So I'm going to work with that right now. But instead of, having two different points, instead of having one different point, one vanishing point, we're going to have two. So I'm going to draw one tick. I'm going to have them kind of, oops, what happened here? There we go. So I'm going to have one tick over here, changing the color again, and I'm going to have another tick over here. Sorry if I'm a little all over the place. Because we want our two ticks instead of having one, right? 1 point perspective, we only had 1 point going off. But with 2 point perspective, we have 2 points. Another thing that I said with 1 point perspective is you want to draw, your square first, and then you can bring the other sides down. But that's not correct. That's not what you do with 2 point perspective, right? Instead, you're going to choose one side, one edge of your cube, right? So if I do from above this time, right? If I draw one edge from above, right? I'm going to bring back these edges back towards both vanishing points this time, right? So now we have two sides that go that way. I'm going to choose another edge, or I'm going to pick out where my other edges are going to go. And from those corners, I'm going to bring them back to the vanishing point once again. Now, if I just outline this, quote unquote, just putting darker lines so it's a little bit easier to see. Right? And now we have our 2 point perspective cube, right? So if we go back to that really weird explanation that I did the first time, right? With all the different axes, right, of our cube, right? Because 1 point, we choose one axis to proceed towards the vanishing point, but it most likely will be the z-axis with 1 point perspective. With 2 point perspective, if we draw that cube again, let's make these sides red. These ones can be green. These ones can be blue. Right? So these ones are your X. These ones are your Y. And this one is your Z. Right? So you would normally have all three of these. Rectangles for life. Yes, indeed. Hello, Wolf Luna. Welcome in. Right? So for 2 point perspective, you'll most likely be choosing, two axes. To proceed towards a vanishing point. Right, so for 2 point perspective, you'll be choosing two axes to proceed towards a vanishing point. And more likely than not, okay, that's not quite what, that's not how English works. Let's try that again. Most likely, be X and Z, right? So for 1 point perspective, it was most likely going to be Z that would go back towards a vanishing point. This time, it is both X and Z, and our verticals will stay perfectly straight, right? So it's the same up here, right? We have our two sides here. This is our Z, this is our X. They're going back towards our vanishing points, but our Y, our straight up and down, remains perfectly parallel to one another, right? So these are the only remaining sides that will be parallel to each other. These other ones will intersect at some point. Right, so that's a cube from above. Let's do one from below. Right, so again, like I mentioned, we want to choose one edge first, then have the tops of that edge go back towards our vanishing points. Then we can choose the other edges that will be shown of our cubish thing. And then from the tops of those edges, whichever perspective it's going from, right? If it's above, you'll see it from you'll see the bottom of the cube. If it's from below, you'll see the top of the cube. Right? You can bring those edges back and then complete the cube. Right, so that's one from above, one from below. And another thing I should mention, this 2-point perspective will only work if it is within the range of these 2 points. Right? I'm going to talk a little bit about background drawing when it comes to 2-point perspective, because this is when it gets a little bit tricky, because 1-point perspective, you want both of your vanishing points inside. Most of the time, you want it inside of the canvas, but most of the time, that's not the case for 2-point, especially that's not the case for 3-point. So, we'll get to that, though, because perspective gets more complex the more you do it. Let's say that I have an edge that is directly on top of the horizon line. Right, so if I bring back these edges, but this time I will only be drawing the vertical lines. There is no top or bottom that is exposed. Oops. So instead, I will just be drawing the cube from its sides. My art geometry teacher saw this. They would use you as an example. I don't think so. This is a little bit messy. So I'm keeping in the lines as much as I can, just like when I download this or when I save it as a JPEG, so you guys can download it. You can see where all my lines are, but it's getting a little bit messy, so I'm going to erase a little bit here. Thank you, though. I'm just going to erase the inside a little bit. Alright, just so you can see what's happening, but I want to keep all these lines in just so you can see my process as well. I'm not joking. I'm sure you're not, but I don't think this is very clean. So I personally wouldn't use this as like a mathematic example. Let me just save this file as well. I've been saving them as PSDs preemptively, so I can like edit them later because I know I will have to. All right. So that's gonna do for cubes. Right, cubes aren't too hard. Cubes are always the easiest thing to draw in perspective. Watching guys from Georgia. Hello, welcome in. And hello from Canada. If you're from Georgia, hello from Canada. Love your work. Thank you. Right, so we started with cubes. Cubes are the easiest to draw in perspective, right? Anything cubular is fairly easy to draw in perspective, right? It's everything else that can kind of get a little bit tricky. Right, so let's go and move on to, what did I have planned next? I was going to do circles next, yeah. So I was just going to get it out of the way. I mentioned last time that circles are pretty hard, and they are. So I'm going to do circles. Actually, no, I can't do a circles are only in 1-point perspective because they're 2D, right? So we mentioned drawing circles last time, right? Circles are 2-dimensional, right? So you can't really draw these in 2-point perspective because, you know, there is only one angle they can be drawn from. So let's do something more like a pyramid then. So let's do a pyramid. So most things that are round, right, cylinders, actually cylinders will be very 1-pointy. Actually, no, you know what? We'll do a cylinder afterwards. We'll do a pyramid first. So pyramids, not that much different from last time, except now we're working with 2 points to draw our square. Right, again, it's a little bit easier to teach it when it's directly in the middle, but generally you don't want your your horizon line directly in the middle. Spheres. Spheres are tricky, but those are a little bit those branch off of circles, so I can get into those as well. Spheres forces you to draw 2 squares and then 2 circles that intersect with each other. So that one's a little bit tricky. I didn't talk about it last time because it's hard, but I will talk about it this time. So when it comes to pyramids, right? Pretty much the same as last time. We got to start by drawing a square in perspective. Right, so I'm going to start from the bottom this time. So coming from your vanishing points, you're going to have, this V shape. And you're going to choose the other edges of your square to bring back to the vanishing points. Right? Well, that's more of a rectangle. Let's do this then. There we go. That's a little more square-like. Alright, so you start with that V, and then you choose the other edges that you will have. Just like last time as well, right? You're going to want to take each corner going across from each other, and from that middle point, bring it upwards. And then just connect back down to the edges. Right? And if I were to draw the actual pyramid, it would look like that. Sorry, it sounds like I'm losing my voice. It's just like I went out to exercise this morning, which I haven't done in ages. But yes, so that's what it would look like from below. Let me do that one more time, but this time from above, so you can see what it looks like from the bottom. Right, so again, you want to start with that V, right? Find the other edges to create your square-ish thing. Take the corners and connect them across from each other so it creates an X. And then coming from that point, draw straight up. That point is the top of your pyramid. And now you have the finished form. Right, so because it's from below, you can now see the bottom of it, right? It's this squarish thing, right? So we want to keep that in there. Because we're looking at it from below, but if it's from above, then you can't see the square that's beneath it. Oh, I should write the process. Let me make this canvas longer, though. Oh, I guess I could make it just a little bit taller, a little bit shorter. Yeah, that's better. Just because I want to keep this in here, but I need the room to write everything, so. It's for cubes, the step-by-step. Pick an edge. Draw lines leading. Back towards each vanishing point. Yep, so pick an edge, draw lines leading back towards each vanishing point. Draw other vertical edges. Alright, and for this one, square in 2 point. perspective. So you draw a square in 2-point perspective, connect. Connect opposite corners. Draw a line. Oop. Draw a line going straight up. From intersection. Right. So cubes and pyramids, those I think are probably the easiest ones. Oh, whoops. Oh well. We don't need this much space, so let's maybe go with 3,600. Yeah, that's a little better. And let's make this longer so we have room. So like Wolf Luna suggested, what we're going to do next is we are going to, actually no, we're going to do cylinders first, and then we're going to get into spheres, because spheres are the harder one. So a cylinder right, there's a couple ways that you can do this one. I'm going to do the method why do you have two lives at the same time? What do you mean? Sorry, I'm not super sure what that means. Right, so we need our 2 vanishing points. The thing with this one, though, when we draw a cylinder in perspective, in 2-point perspective, we need to figure out where we want it to be facing, right? So if I want my cylinder to be facing this way, you know what, I'm actually going to make this lower because I'm only going to draw one of them. Just so it makes life a little bit easier. So maybe I want it facing this way, right? I have to choose which sides will be my circles and which sides will be just like, you know, the continuous circular one. But first, what I need to do is draw a rectangular prism. Right? It's got to be a long one, though. Because this is a cylinder, not a prism that we're drawing. This time we're going to connect every single edge of it as well. Grammarly. Right, so what we're focusing on now are these 2 squares that we've drawn. Right, so let me highlight those a little bit in a different color. What we're focusing on now is these 2 squares that we've drawn, because these 2 are squares. They're going to be our honorary squares, even though they're more like they're rectangles. These are honorary squares, but these are what we're going to be focusing on, because these are what we are going to be turning into circles. Right? So if you remember from last week, we're going to be doing the exact same thing. So I'm not going to go super slow with it. But remember, we need to connect all of our sides. Our 4 corners. Right, so we have like this asterisk. We need the star. And then we want to cut these lines into 3 pieces. Our diagonal lines, we want to cut them into thirds. And then from there we can draw our circles. Right, we want them to touch the edges of our vertical vertical and horizontal lines, and we want them to touch the thirds of the diagonal lines that we've drawn in. All right, so we can get that pretty well perfect circle. Right, so once we hit this point, now it's like, where do we go from here? Well, from the top of the vertical line that we've created within each of these cylinders is the line that we have to bring back towards the perspective, the vanishing points, right? So we know where our curves will start and stop. Right, so from here, what I can do is draw in my circle. On one side, it's really feathered because I need to move fast. From the top, we go back towards this other circle and find that other curve. Right, so now we have our cylinder. Now cylinders are a lot of steps. Cylinders are a lot of steps. That's why I didn't really want to go over them last time, because they took too long, right? Because I'd already gone over some other shapes and I didn't want to. They're not super important. So, but they are now important here. Right, so a cylinder. Draw a prism in perspective, which I'm just going to cut short a little bit. Choose sides to become circles. Draw circles in perspective. Connect top and bottom of circle. Right, so we want to start by drawing this the prism in perspective. We want to choose the sides that will become circles, and then draw the circles in perspective, and then connect the top and the bottom of the circles. Right, so we can create a cylinder. And last but not least, like Wolf Luna suggested, we're going to be drawing a sphere. It looks like I need to make this even longer. Can it do 10,000? Oh yes, it can. Some programs limit how large you can make your canvas. I'm glad it doesn't limit it that much. Sphere. Spheres are where it gets a little funky. Because spheres, technically, they get harder when you do them in 2-point perspective. It's a little bit easier in 1 point. But I'll do them in 2-point. Because what a sphere entails, I'm only going to draw one. What color should I do? I'll do orange. Sphere. My handwriting looks extra messy because I'm working with like the pen brush, and not like the G pen that I usually work with. Sphere. Funky wonky, yeah. Gets a little bit strange. So, with the sphere, first what we have to do is draw our square. I'm going to have this up high. So we want to draw our square in perspective. We need to draw two, but they need to intersect with one another. So first we'll draw this first square. Actually, it can't be that low because then it gets warped, and I will talk about that soon as well. So we need to draw our first square. Like that. Right? Our second one, however, has to intersect with this first one. And it has to be directly in the middle. So we gotta connect our corners together. Almost the same way that we did our circle. And this time, we gotta draw another square like this, going back into perspective. Where its other edge, it gets really messy really fast. Let me do that in another color then. Just so it's a little bit easier to track. So from this point, we need to draw another edge going straight up and down. Then bring it back to our vanishing points once again. And connect the edges of this one as well. Right, so right now, what we kind of have, I'm going to draw it off to the side again, just a little bit clearer, because I need all these lines. What we have right now is one square going like this, and another square going like this. Right, it's kind of like we got two pieces of paper, it's almost like we're making a plus sign, right, with our squares. But these squares cannot remain as squares, they must be turned into circles, right? So, just like before, cut these into thirds. And draw in your circle. I turned around for 1 second, things went from 0 to 100 real quick. Yep. Spheres are the hardest one. Spheres are really hard. I didn't want to bring up spheres because they're this hard. But you requested it, so I will do it. Right? Cut into thirds. Draw other circle that is going flat. This third should be higher up. Right, so now we have our two spheres. And for every edge that we see, right? So this right here is the top of our sphere. Right? That's the top of our sphere. This is the bottom, right? These points that I've drawn here. So this would be the very top of the sphere. This would be the bottom. This would be the side of one edge. This would be the side of the other edge. Right? So from there, on the outsides of all the edges, we have to connect them together. And you look at me and go, Jessie, why didn't you just draw a circle? Because this just looks like a circle. Well, now what you can do is with this, you can identify the exact top and bottom of said sphere. Now, I wasn't originally going to do this, but now I have to because it gets really messy if I don't. It's already messy, and I said it was going to be messy, but... Oh, I did this on the cylinder layer. Well, so be it. So now what we can do is we know how to curve patterns around the sphere by doing this. Right? So we have this way, across, and this is the perfect curve, and we have this way, above. And this is also a perfect curve around our sphere. Right? For this perspective. The other side of it would be right here. The other side of this one would be going back here. Right? So that's a sphere in perspective. Right? Kind of tricky. A lot of steps. So let me attempt to write down the instructions for this one, because I don't know if I can very well. Again, I'm sorry if my written instructions aren't very clear, because I'm better at drawing the instructions rather than drawing them. Or better at drawing the instructions rather than writing them. Basketball, yes, I suppose it is. This is a way that you could draw basketball, right? So you'd be able to know what perspective it goes in, right? So everybody who likes sports anime, say thank you to the animators who have to do this every time. I'm just joking. They've probably memorized how to do it off the top of their heads by now. Start. 2 squares. 2 intersected squares. Turn into circles. Turn squares into circles. Connect circles. By outermost edge to create the sphere. Circle guidelines. There to show curve. To show accurate curve. The word attempt gets me worried. Grammarly, I understand. Alright. So those are the shapes that we've got down, and those are all the shapes that I'm going to go over. So with that, that is the, it's a little bit past half an hour, but if you are watching this, then if you did not know, cool Kirby cursor, thank you. My Kirby. It doesn't show up on OBS, it's animated, he's walking. But if you did not know and you're joining our stream for the first time, we are not only a YouTube channel, but we are also an art school. So if you'd like to check out our website to all of our classes, I am one of the teachers. Alyssa, who is behind Wing Canvas right now, she is also one of the instructors. If you'd like to check out the classes that we offer, feel free to check out the link in the description to our website. And the file that you see before here, all these axes and stuff, all the different shapes, you can download that for free on our Discord, which you can also find the invite link for in the description below. So I will be saving this as a JPEG, which you can download, save it, keep it, do whatever you want with it, just so long as you do not repost it. But it is all yours, you can keep it. But if you would like the working file, so you can access all of my layers and see this, and open it up in a digital art program, you're going to have to join our Patreon, where you can get access to my working files. You can also join our critique days, which are held only for Patreons, and you can also get a discount on all of our classes that has a limited amount of spots. So be sure to check those out before they are gone. All right. So just like last week, nice, thank you. Just like last week, I don't want to spend forever on these shapes, so these are all the shapes that I will be doing for 2-point perspective. So we're going to get straight into the backgrounds now. So let me create a new file real quick. And like it was mentioned, or actually I didn't mention that, but our Discord is also where you get notified of where... Have I ever tried Autodesk Sketchbook? Yes, I have. I'm actually not a huge fan of it. The program that I use most of the time is Photoshop, Photoshop CC. I switch between Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint. Most of the time, Clip Studio has some functions that Photoshop doesn't. Photoshop has functions I'm more used to, so I tend to work between the two. I usually go into Clip for perspective because it has a really, really nice perspective tool. Or when I want to use its time-lapse function. But yeah, so those are the two that I mainly switch between. Autodesk, I find, doesn't have the same amount of tools as a lot of the other programs that I've tried. I quite like Procreate as well. MediBang is very similar to Photoshop, etc., etc. I find that Autodesk just isn't as well-versed as the other two. But if you like Autodesk, good for you. Good. I'm glad that you have a program that you prefer. But like I mentioned, or I didn't mention, but I mentioned that we had a Discord, and Discord is where you can get notified of our community posts, and that's where we do all of our polls for every stream. Every week has a different poll that may affect the stream for the next week. So this week we did a poll for what background I would be drawing, and the poll said that we would be drawing a palace garden, so that's what I will be doing in 2-point perspective. But that means I will also have to talk a little bit about how to draw a background in 2-point perspective. So even though I am done with drawing all the shapes, I am going to have to, oops, sorry, let me just move some stuff around. Hey. Excuse me. Oh, it doesn't like it if I'm not, like... Fine. I'm gonna have to talk a bit about backgrounds and 2-point perspective, so I gotta go back to this one. So even though we're done with the shapes, I gotta do a little bit more explanations. Me and Android using running Procreate. Procreate's alright. Like, if you're on Android, some things that, like, I prefer Android. Some things that you can download on Android tablets, you can actually get Clip Studio Paint, which is far better than Procreate. I've used both, but I way prefer Clip Studio. So you can use Clip Studio on tablets. I'm pretty sure you can download them on, like, you can download them on laptops, you can download them on Clip Studio on tablets. It works far better than Procreate. It has a lot more functions. So if you want a good drawing program for a tablet that's an Android tablet, use Clip Studio. But that is paid. So the program that I'm using right now is MediBang Paint Pro, and this is for free for both Android and Apple. So if you have something like that, feel free to download this, which is quite nice. So yes, 2-point perspective. Let me go back to using the G pen. Two-point VPs, so vanishing points, usually are usually not, yeah. Usually not on the canvas. Two-point backgrounds. That's what I should say. VPs are usually not on the canvas. Tend to be off of it. So the vanishing points usually are off of the canvas. Allows for no warping. So warping, I mentioned it. Warping is when when drawn objects are too far or close to the vanishing points. So let me give an example. I started with a little bit of warping. There was a little bit of warping with some areas. There's a little bit of warping happening down here with these cubes. Right, so let me do a very, very quick example of what warping is. Alright, so I'm not even going to use the things, right? So let's say that I have my 2 vanishing points, right? If I drew my cube all the way down here, right? It gets very, very pulled down here, right? This is starting to get really, really pulled. And that's super, super warped, right? Generally, you don't want this, right? You don't want anything to be super warped. Stuff that's a little bit more warped, a little bit closer to the vanishing points or a little bit farther away. Wait, what? Did I click on the wrong one? Oh, LOL. You're great, thank you. That's why. Oh, I'm so sorry, everyone. For some reason, I clicked on the wrong stream to start with. That's great. Fantastic. Anyway. I was wondering why. Usually there's more people. Alright. Thanks, everyone, for who actually popped in. I didn't realize I clicked on the wrong stream. Okay. Ooga booga. Alright. I guess we'll continue with this anyway. Thank you, Gabriel. Right? And if it's too close, right, one side might be far too flat, right? It might look a little bit strange. So generally, we have this area. There's like a very specific kind of area. It's like a circle that you can draw within your vanishing points where it won't get warped, right? And for background art, this is mostly where you want to keep all of your shapes. Very, very generally. But, like what the poll said, we are going to work with background artwork. Hang on just a moment. Let me check something really quickly. Oh, that's so strange. So it's like playing on 2 different places right now. Weird. Alright, well. To either chat, to both chats, hello. That's why I have only been responding to 1 chat. I didn't even know that was happening. Okay. Alright, well. So let's start with drawing this garden background then. Like I said, right? We don't want our vanishing points on the canvas. So I've made this canvas extremely big, purposefully. And what I'm going to do is actually draw myself a new canvas. How would I want to do this? Let's do it this way. And how big do I want this? What did I do last time? I made it really small last time. I made it from below. I suppose I'll do it from above this time then. I was watching the stream the 2-point perspective video. Yeah, I mean, I suppose that makes sense because this is 2-point perspective. I'm in the live chat for 3-point. Goodness gracious. Let's see what the 2-point perspective chat is like. I'll switch between them. Hello, everyone. Now I'm in the 2-point perspective chat. It's a very complicated way to draw a circle, but I'm intrigued. So hello to everyone who's actually in here. That's so funny. So like some people are in the 2-point perspective, some people are in the 3-point. Strange. Hello, Aramiru. How strange. Alright. I should go back to the 2-point one then. I guess that makes more sense. So let me go into that one. If you're watching the 3-point perspective stream right now, try to watch the 2-point one. So just check the title. You'll be able to see them. Sorry about that. That's weird. How strange. I suppose the live streams have been going far too smoothly as of late. But I kind of want to do a low one. Yeah, I'm gonna do it low. Just cause, oh, you know what? I'll do it high, just because I did it low last time. So my perspective, horizon line is going to be up near the top this time, so it looks like we're looking down onto the whole thing, right? I said I was going to do a palace garden, so we're going to make this kind of fancy. Probably going to need some references off to the side. But like I mentioned, I'm going to have my vanishing points off here. This way, instead. So usually we have them off of the canvas so we can, like, you know, really, really push our area of effect, right? So I'm going to have it like it's the entrance to this palace, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by laying down foundations for, like, statues and stuff. Right, so let's say that this is, like... There's a lot of different ways you can do backgrounds. I'm kind of doing the long way. Oops, this should be... yeah. So let's say that these are like bowls or something. I've kind of learned to, like I said in the last stream, I've kind of learned to not, like, to not 100% need vanishing points. Alright, so maybe we got some statues here. Right? Also, when it comes to backgrounds, especially in perspective and stuff, you want to lay down your very basic shapes first before you get into any really nitty-gritty details, right? Like I mentioned in the last stream as well, you know, especially with perspective, you might get a little bit confused when you work in it for long enough, right? Because if especially you get all these lines everywhere, you're like, oh my god, there's so much to look at. Right? You kind of got to learn to train your eyes, or there's two ways you can do this. You can either learn to train your eyes, or you can constantly be erasing some of your lines, but I like to keep them in so that I can actually tell sorry, perspective always, like, I have to concentrate a little bit more. I always like to leave them in just because I find that I end up using a lot of the same lines over and over. Alright, you know what? I might actually have to use the square this time if I want to do this really, really big circle. If you hear that clicking, that's my tablet clicking. Especially with perspective and stuff, don't be afraid to, like, go off your canvas. You're gonna need to sometimes. say this is like a rose bed or something. Yeah. Hi. Hello, Dooder. Dooder. I don't know why there's two streams. I'm like constantly switching back and forth between them so I can read the chat for both streams. I don't know why this is happening, but okay, I'm staying within the 2.1, whatever it is named 2-point perspective. So if you are in a stream right now that is named 3-point perspective, try to switch to the one that is named 2-point perspective. I don't know if it's visible for everyone. Hopefully it is. And don't worry about being lost already. We kind of already went over all the steps and whatnot. So this should be stream 10-2. Right, so this entire section is going to be cut off. Just like this corner is going to be cut off, stuff like that. Right, and like I mentioned before, right, I've kept in all of these extra lines because I'm going to be using them still. Say this is a flower bush. Things that are a little more unorthodox in shape, right? Bushes, plants, stuff like that. You don't have to worry about the perspective that much. That's my secret. Right, just kind of get it as close as you can, right? Because it's like it's an organic shape, right? Something that's a little bit more organic, it's a lot harder to do perspective with because there's not that much that you can like do. Like, could you do it technically if you wanted to like I could switch. Yeah, hello. Welcome to this one, Dooder. To the 2-point perspective. 2-point perspective section. Yeah, this is a fountain. This is one fountain. This is 2 fountain. Yeah. Right, so I'm gonna have to draw the palace steps. Now, especially when it comes to perspective, I'm usually, you know, that I'm usually the one who likes to use the most minimal amount of layers. And when it comes to perspective, I tend to use a lot of layers. Just to, like, it's like saving my progress or whatever at a point. So I'm gonna switch to doing another layer in a different color. Because now I'm gonna draw some stairs. Now stairs are really, really weird. I know that people tend to struggle with them. I struggle with them. So where am I going to start then? This is probably where I'm going to start. So stairs are really just a lot of prisms. Truly. Spiral staircases are where it gets really, really tricky. But it really is, especially with 2-point perspective, it really is just kind of finding out how tall you want things to be, constantly bringing it back. It's just drawing... drawing rectangular prisms over and over and over. Is really off topic, but in one of the previous streams you inspired me to draw line art with no stabilizer. Yes! Good. Death to the stabilizer. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I still use the stabilizer. But good. Good. Excuse me? Ugh, to my tablet. Stop. Then I tried it, now I'm much more confident in my line work. There you go. Thank you so much. No worries. Yes, it is really great to work with a stabilizer, but it's also great to work without one. So we gotta get a good mix going. And no worries if it's off topic. I'm constantly off topic. And so we kind of got our stairs going on here. Of course, this is still like me just kind of drawing it all out. Nothing's too clean as of right now. Oops. Also, I had to reset my tablet a little bit because it died on me a little bit ago. Right, so if I put these back up to 100%, right, as time gets on, when you do more and more of your backgrounds, it gets very, very messy, which is why it's like, you know, you want to keep on constantly making new layers and stuff like that, right? Oh, there we go. Now it's just the 2-point perspective stream. Good. Good, good, good. All right. So, now I can kind of draw in the extra shapes. Oops. For the palace. And yes, thank you for those who switched over to the proper stream. Even though we started a little bit weird. So I'm just going to draw the entrance to the palace, right? So let's say that these are like... It's our palace entrance or something. Big spires. Oh, this should be more here, shouldn't it? Yes. And this one should be more here. Nope, it should be here. Yes. Yes, it is a little bit tricky to kind of notice where things are happening. How do I avoid getting confused with so many lines? I've been doing perspective for a really long time. I love perspective. It's one of those things that everybody hates, but for some reason I really, really love. Same with line art. So over time, I've just kind of grown the ability to just be able to know where I'm going. But that's about building up a tolerance. Like, you're not gonna, like, over time, a way to avoid it is like, oh, I forgot to turn down this. A way to avoid it is constantly making new layers, erasing your lines, you know, getting used to looking at them more and more, right? I think I showed that other one from my past stream, or from last week. Where was it? Oh, it was this one. Right? I'm used to working with way too many lines. It's because I color code a lot of it. Right, and over time I've just stopped really getting ultra confused with it. Right, like this is a crazy amount of lines. But I would just constantly, if you're just starting out, I would just constantly be erasing or switching up the colors that you use and stuff like that. Oops, that's the wrong layer. Right, so like if you didn't need certain sections, you would just erase it, or if you wanted new sections, you would add them back in. Right, stuff like that. So, I've kind of got my sketch going down here, so now I'm going to make a clean sketch pass. Cleaner sketch pass, but with that, that's also the top of the hour. So if you did not know, we are not only an art YouTube channel, we are also an art school. So if you would like to check out any of the classes that we have to offer, anything that we do, because I am not only you know, the live streaming face, I guess, but I am also one of the teachers for Wing Canvas. If you'd like to check out all the available classes that we have, be sure to check them out as a link in the description below. And this file that you see before you, this one and the one from before, these two will be available to download on our Discord as a JPEG. You can keep it, save it, refer back to it, do whatever you want with it, just as long as you do not repost it, and it is all yours. But if you would like my files, especially this one with all of my working files, like with all my layers, because I will be saving a JPEG of the final of this, not with all the rough lines. But if you want all my rough lines with all of the, all of the work in there, you are going to have to check out our Patreon, which is where you can get all my working files. And you can also check out the discounts that we have on our classes, which are in limited amounts. So be sure to check those out before they are gone. All right, let's get back to this. So again, this is going to be my cleaner layer. Right, where it's kind of just me calling my hello, Colin, welcome in. So this is kind of me cleaning up what I've already drawn in. Because right now it looks like a lot of nothing. So I'm cleaning up a lot of what I've drawn in. But I'm also adding some extra details that I did not add in initially. At this stage, I'm not really adding in any extra guidelines, like perspective lines, unless if I really, really need to. But I've already drawn in so many that it's like I can kind of approximate between them, which is another reason why I don't always delete them, because, even if I'm not drawing a section that is exactly the perspective that I'm looking for, I have so many lines around me that I can kind of approximate what's going to happen. Or where it all goes, right? These are just going to be some rough flowers. They don't need to be perfect right now. I'm not even going to make them perfect when I clean it up. I'm just going to kind of get it in there. A palace garden is a lot easier than a market because there's a lot less super concrete shapes. Like when it comes to a palace, like a marketplace, you have to draw like a crazy amount of other stuff. This is like a flower bush that I'll draw proper flowers for later. Because drawing flowers is very, very tedious. Right, because a marketplace, you have to draw like all those fonts, and you gotta draw a bunch of different things that a marketplace would have, right? What do you gotta do with a garden? You gotta draw a lot of flowers, a lot of bushes. Not quite so much everything else. And a good way to make things feel a little more finished, right, is just add a nice edge to them. Right, I got that extra little, got these two perspective lines here that can help guide me. Yeah, way to make things just feel just that slight more finished. Add some extra designs on them. Add some extra shapes. I mentioned it in the previous stream as well, but an easy way to tell how you should curve your circles and everything like that is it depends on which angle or where it is in relativity to the horizon line, right? So if your horizon line is, if your curve is above the horizon line, it should be curving upwards and should get more intense the farther away from the horizon line you are. And if it's below, then it should be curving downwards and gets more intense depending on how far away from the horizon line you are. Alright, if you ever want just some quick and easy curves and perspective. And over time you can kind of just approximate it. I've got my flower bed here. Which is like a two-tiered. I'm kind of thinking it's like a two-tiered bush. Right, so it's kind of like a big bush. I've been playing a lot of Minecraft. So like I've kind of been like... I've been in a weird building mood. Yeah, let's say that the garden has a little bit of an edge to it like this. Like it's up like a palace kind of entrance thing. And we've got another little edge here. For our bowl. And redraw in my bush. Especially when it comes to backgrounds in drawing stuff, you know, I like to push the idea of, like, good enough is better than perfect. Like, of course, try your best all the time, but, like, sometimes when you're illustrating something or designing something, you know, you can get kind of, like, close enough, but it doesn't have to be, like, perfect. Right? Because sometimes you gotta know when to, like, stop. Sometimes if you work on something for way too long, that you're like, ugh, it just looks worse, and you're just gonna get frustrated, and it's just not good for you. So sometimes you just gotta know when to throw in the towel. Also, big thing about perspective is, like, you know, when you do perspective for a while, or if you look at something, right, usually you want to trust your gut. If something looks off, it most likely is. Right? So I used this perspective line to draw this circular thing right here, but it didn't look right to me, so I had to fix it. And I did it again without the guidelines, and now it feels a little bit better. And flipping horizontally doesn't only work for drawing human characters, it also works for drawing things in perspective like this. And again, I usually try to avoid using the line tool as much as possible when I'm cleaning up, but, like, if I have no other choice, then sometimes stuff like stairs or something else, like, I gotta use the line tool or else it's gonna look real wonky, and I don't want that to happen. Sometimes it is unavoidable. I should have this square on another layer. I should do it again here. Just so I have a guideline without that, yeah. Ooh, random tip. For when you're drawing things that are curved, oops. When you're drawing things that are curved, oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Oh, well, it doesn't matter, I suppose. When you're drawing things that are curved, right, and it has like a stripe pattern around it, when it's closer to the edges, like this, right, when you get closer to the middle, the spaces between each of those edges or ridges will get wider. Let's make sure that you account for that. Stairs are super hard and tedious to draw in perspective. 100%. They're super annoying. For one page of my comic, I had to draw spiral stairs that were in, I think it was 2 point or 1 point or something like that. I struggled so hard. They took me like an hour, just the stairs. I was so annoyed. I was like, I gotta get these pages done tomorrow. Why is why are these taking me so long? I was so frustrated. I've never been so frustrated drawing anything. Like, you think I hate drawing cars? Those stairs hurt me, like physically hurt me. Trying to draw them. Yeah, so I don't want to use this line tool too much anymore. It's getting just a little bit warped. But apparently I've drawn it where the palace is on the horizon line. Oh, it's not on the horizon line, it's just below it. You'll notice a thing that I'll do where, like, I'll draw in a perspective line, and then I'll just immediately delete it and then redraw it. That's me trying to keep my layers clean. That's another thing I do. Right, is if I don't want to end up drawing another big and ugly perspective line, then I'm like, okay, I'll just draw it in, remember where it was, and then I'll erase it. Is that necessary? Absolutely not. But I'm kind of annoying. It's like, could I just keep it in? Technically, yes, but like, I don't want that there. It's like I kind of let the mental imprint burn itself into my brain, and then I'm like, alright, there we go. So this is very comic panel-y, I'm noticing, like the way that I drew this. It's very comic panel-y. Which I guess makes sense. But normally, I guess, like with this one, it kind of goes along with the rule of thirds. I'll erase these, and then like your characters would be here. And then you'd have speech bubbles, most likely here, or here, or here, or here. This is a very comic panel-y type background. But I suppose that makes sense, considering I draw comic panels 90% of the time. I feel like it's missing something here. I kind of want to add more bushes, but I'm like, I don't want to do too much, because if I do too much, you know, less is more. Most of the time you want less is more. You know what I mean? Can you put some music? The thing with that is, like, you know, copyright. Honestly, I would so put in music, but I don't want that YouTube demonetization. But hey, you can put on music while you're watching. Who says that I don't have music on right now? You'll never know. Kind of want to add in more bushes here. So I'm just freehanding a bush. Lo-fi is great, yeah. I listen to a wide variety of music. Usually it's like it depends on my mood. Lo-fi I actually don't listen to a lot when I work. Like, no copyright, yeah. Maybe one day we'll set up a no copyright lo-fi thing. It also messes up because we edit these into stream highlights afterwards. So, like, it'll mess up with the audio if we have music playing in the background constantly. Because our stream highlights, we usually put on a different set of music to the background as well. I'm turning this into an oval. Make a little bit more sense in terms of what I've already drawn. So I realize I messed up a little bit, so I'm going to have to fix that. But yeah, no copyright lo-fi would be great, but unfortunately messes up with the editing process. Yeah, I've been playing too much Minecraft. I'm like in such a building mood. I have too much work to do though, so I can't play it all the time. My brain is constantly telling me, like, you gotta play Minecraft again. Your sheep are waiting for you. You can just do some background trees. Do you listen to any type of a specific type of music depending on the mood of a drawing? I have playlists that all have specific moods. It's like so they're not named after specific mood. They're named after characters. So it's like if I have a certain character or a type of character I need to write, then I'll listen to that, or it's a specific area or whatever. But yeah, I listen to music of all kinds. If I'm drawing stuff like lo-fi is what I listen to when I want a neutral kind of feeling. If I'm drawing something. Lo-fi and classical. Actually, classical is what I listen to if I want to draw. Let's make this water reeds. Let's make this into a pond. Classical is what I want to listen to if I want to draw fancier clothing. like ballroom clothing or whatever. Or if I'm kind of feeling sappy or whatever, I'll listen to classical too to illustrate. Cattails. Yes, these are called cattails. Why are they called that? Don't ask me. I didn't make up the name. Yes, let's say that this is... I'm kind of taking inspiration from the gardens in Hamilton as well. It's been so long since I've been there. Man. I miss those gardens. They're so pretty. Alright. So I've kind of got a semi-cleaned up background here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually clean it up. Alright. So let's actually get into more detailed work. Slightly more detailed work. And I'm going to turn up my correction because I'm going to move a little bit slower. Though there is a little bit over a half an hour left of this stream. So yeah, perspective is really hard to grasp if you're doing it for the very first time. Like, whenever I teach perspective in classes, they're like... it's always like, I have to kind of stop and go like, okay, is everybody at this step now? Like, a good, 20 times. Before we actually get to the step that we're looking for. It usually takes the whole class time to get, one section of a background done. I think I've always liked how sharp MediBang's pen is. It looks like a fuzzy stick of butter. Yeah, I don't like using the line tool because when I do, it ends up looking really, really mechanical and it gets kind of boring. But sometimes I must because there's some lines that are just too annoying to deal with free-handed. Especially with ultra straight lines. Maybe I'm getting a little too exact with this one. It was definitely a lot more messy last week. When it came to drawing in the background. Maybe I'm just being a little more meticulous this time. Yeah, this definitely would be like a background in like a comic or something. A paneled background. Yeah, perspective is always intimidating when you first do it. Even if you do it a lot, it can be really intimidating. And it's like you kind of just have to do it over and over and over to get used to it, or you see other people do it for a while and you kind of get used to doing it without the lines and whatever. Like, it's obviously hard, and it's not like you're gonna get it immediately, but I know a lot of beginners hate to hear it, but practice is how you do it. It's just a lot of bumps. Especially when you're drawing bushes, you don't want to draw every single, like, little bushel exactly the same. Because, like, you know, it'll end up looking, like, really boring. So you want to kind of vary... Like, they are just little bumps, like, very cartoony bushes are just a lot of bumps. But you want to vary their size, you want to vary how they are, you know. Goodness gracious, that's loud. Right, add a few little extra bumps inside the bush too, right? And it kind of gives it a little bit of extra dimension. Makes it look a little fluffier. I guess is the best way I can describe it. Like, I want to add flowers, but it's going to take a really long time, and I don't know if I have that time. I mean, I guess I have a half hour. If I have the time, I'll add in a lot of flowers. Right now, I shall refrain from adding flowers because I have a lot of other stuff to do in this background that I want to complete. Do I like rain? I don't mind rain. I think I like the sound of rain. I like the aesthetic of it somewhat. I like how cozy rain is, but I don't like being in it. Do I prefer winter or summer? Winter. 100%. I get hot way too easily. I am much more of a winter person. I suppose it's because we're also in Canada, and I like the cold. But I have a lot of friends who also hate winter, and I think they're insane. I just really like snow. This bowl is getting irritating to do. It's like I don't want to... It doesn't want to listen to me. Yet I got it just fine with the sketch. What is this? Yeah, like my ideal temperature is like 10 degrees Celsius. Generally. Canadians have to like winter, yeah, I know. Oh, you always get sad during winter. I understand. It is a cold kind of time. I also really hate spring because I have seasonal allergies. Like, I'm constantly dying in spring. I had a really bad allergy attack a couple days ago, and like I was just I couldn't do anything. I was so loopy. Not a fun time. Though I do like summer because like now I can rollerblade. Though in winter I can ice skate, and like ice skating is like I love rollerblading, but I way prefer ice skating. But it's like one of the very few physical activities I will almost never pass up on. I used to go ice skating weekly, but it was like, well, obviously, COVID, but like at my old college campus, we used to go. We had an ice skating rink that we could use for free. So it was like I would always go ice skating with my friends before class started. That would be like our weekly activity. We'd go for a couple hours and then we'd leave. We'd go for a couple hours and then we'd leave for our next class. That's not accurate. Let's move this over. There we go. Dang it. Alright, there we go. The only thing I don't really like about MediBang Paint is like the fact that, well, other than the text tool, but the other thing I don't really like is the way that the correction transfers over to your eraser as well as your brush. Like, it's not a separate thing. Like, you gotta use it. If your correction is at 20 on your brush and it's 20 on your eraser, you can't really change that, which is really annoying. Or at least I haven't found a way to change it. Knowing me, I probably just haven't found it. But it's a little bit irritating to me. I know a lot of artists hate backgrounds. Like, I used to hate them too, and then I started doing them more. And I started to get quicker at them, and now I love doing backgrounds. Like, they take so long most of the time. Like, I tend to get really focused, which is why these streams I tend to, with the perspective streams, I'm really only talkative during the actual learning bits. But then like when we get to the actual background perspective, I'm like, oh, kind of gotta focus a little bit. Until I get to the lighting bit, then it's like, yeah, I can kind of just talk, and because it's like mindless. Yeah, absolutely. Like, backgrounds are tough to get used to, and then you kind of get half of backgrounds is composition, and the other half is just learning how to fill the composition. And they get really easy after that. It's like you gotta learn how to do the composition, you gotta learn the perspective for it. And then you just gotta learn how to fill that composition, make it feel a little more natural. Backgrounds. It's the same with line art. I think I saw an opinion from an artist once, and it was like one of those like, what's your most controversial art opinion? And she was like, none of you hate line art, you're just lazy. You're just lazy and don't want to get used to it or something like that. And like part of me is like, yeah, I kind of agree, but line art isn't for everyone. Like, I love the tedium and the kind of exact nature that line art needs. Right, obviously I'm being a little more carefree here, but do you prefer streaming with a lot of people watching, or do you prefer just a few? The stream feels like a class with a few students. I'm very talkative. I usually prefer it when there's a lot of people, because then I feel a little more motivated. This is nice though. This is a little bit. I'm a little sleepy today, so this is nice to kind of just chill with. I think it's the darkness and the cold, but learning to bundle up no matter how funny you look and making sure you enjoy outdoor activities like skating really helps. Yeah. Me at me, who like barely bundles up. It's like I'm so used to the cold. I remember when my cousins from Jamaica, they came over and they were like, they came from Jamaica, and they were like, what was it outside? It was like 20. I was sweating buckets. I was like, oh, I hate this. It's so hot. And she was like, what do you mean? This is nice. This is a cool breeze. And I was like, you're insane. Like, my aunt from the Philippines, she was like, she came over to Canada. It was like 30 out. And she said it was so cold. And I was like, you're crazy. This is not cold. This is warm as heck. She's gotten used to it now, but yeah. Because the Philippines is hot, and so is Jamaica. But yeah, this is nice and chill, but generally I prefer when there's a lot of people talking. So it's like, I have a lot to talk about too. You know? Otherwise, it's just me talking about myself, and that's kind of cringe. I'm kidding. I mean, I'm half kidding, but you know, yeah, it's still nice to chill. Alright, 5:42. There's not too much time left, but luckily I don't have that much left to do either. Water reeds. Oh yeah, because I went rollerblading this morning, because I got new rollerblades in, and like they're really nice, they're really squishy. Like the insides are really squishy, so they're really comfortable. But like I definitely am out of shape, because I could only go for about an hour, and then I was like, alright, I'm done. So I gotta keep it up, because I want that to be part of my like daily exercise kind of thing. Because I want to get back in shape or whatever. I was never in shape, but you know what I mean? I want to start to get active properly. This is still bothering me, but I guess it's because it was like the vanishing point was right here. Yeah. So be it. line art hierarchy is not very good in this one. If you're wondering, I never went over it, but line art hierarchy, right, it's how you choose your line thickness depending on what you want your eyes to draw towards, right? So generally, stuff that's farther in the background or details and stuff like that, you want your lines to be very thin. And stuff that's closer to the forefront or that you want the viewer to pay attention to, those tend to be quite thick. When do you stream again? These streams are cool. Thank you. We stream every week, 4 p.m. EST. So I will be here exactly the same time next week. We'll be doing 3-point perspective next week, so we're getting even harder. We're going through 1, 2, and 3-point perspective. Yeah, EDT. We're not in EST anymore. We're in EDT. Dumb daylight savings. Oops. But yeah, we're going through all of the perspectives. So this is 2-point, next week is 3-point, and then we're just gonna get into compositions. So how to actually set up a background, whatever. So I guess, you know what? I can do all my background shortcuts on that lesson because we're getting through all the hard parts with the perspective for these streams. So I can talk a bit about how to make them easier on the background one. Yeah, okay, that sounds like a plan. Me planning other live streams during a live stream. Epic. But yeah, you mentioned listening to music as like if it helps me with drawing. Like I can't, like most of the time I can't draw if I don't have something else there. I can't focus. Because then my brain starts to wander and then I get sad. So I need something in there that I'm listening to that like my brain can focus on at the same time. So whether it's like, actually I can only I can only listen to podcasts and stories if what I'm doing is mindless, like lining or coloring or whatever. But if it's like, if I'm like planning out a comic page, it has to be music. Because then it can kind of fade into the background. With a story, you need to pay attention to it, right? Stories are also what I call my failsafe. If I was working on a school assignment, I would listen to music. But if I was working on something personally, stories have this weird effect with me where it's like, if I listen to a story, then my work looks 20 times better, but I also work 20 times slower. So it's like a trade-off. If I'm listening to a story, my work ends up looking better, but it ends up taking a lot longer to complete. So like when I'm working on commissions, I listen to stories. Or like if I'm working on comic pages, I listen to stories. But if I'm working on like school assignments, I listen to music. Because school assignments I tend to want to do faster. I tended to want to do faster. I don't have school assignments now, but when I had stuff to do, like illustrations or whatever, I'd listen to like crazy fast music. But I also have fail-safe songs, and what I mean by that is like if I have no inspiration, but I really need to have inspiration in that moment, I have songs that will give me inspiration no matter when I listen to them. Right? There's very, very specific songs that work for me, where it's like I'll listen to it and suddenly I'm like, yo, I could draw for years. Right? One of them is Howl's Moving Castle's theme, the waltz. I love that one. Yeah, I love that Howl's Moving Castle theme. It's so, so good. I'm kind of scared to say extra words, extra song titles for copyright or whatever. The Rifle Spiral by the Shins is another one. Language by Porter Robinson is another one. I'm just like trying to think of a lot of them off the top of my head. Oh, Sad Machine by Porter Robinson is another one too. It's like there's just very, very specific songs where it's like, yeah, I could listen to this for years. Like I never get tired of it. Water. Alright, we're almost done with this background. I just gotta do the actual castle bit. Oh, and then maybe some flowers, depending on how much time we got after this. I don't want to have to. Because these get really, really annoying. The thing with lines, too, is depending on where it is in the scene, you can also kind of cut them off. Now, the thing with what I mean by that is, like, you know, there's a lot of detail in this area. I'm just not going to complete the line. Right? I kind of leave gaps between the lines so it doesn't get too busy. That's kind of a quick strategy that some background artists use, right? It's like you kind of cut off the line so it doesn't go through it, through whatever object you're drawing. The color will, but the lines won't, so it gets a little bit less busy. Right? So if I just don't draw the line in the middle there, it doesn't feel too crowded, which is what I want, right? Our backgrounds, you can have cluttery backgrounds, but you need some areas where you need to let up a little bit. And in a background like this, clutter doesn't make sense, so I need to, like, back off a little bit in some areas. Some time ago, I made a playlist for meditation, but I use it for drawing now. I really like Soft Suns. Like, I made an album last year. It's really cool for concentration and relaxing. Cool. I will give that a listen later, because I tend to like all types of music. My favorite things for meditation, actually, I don't really meditate, but there's two things that I listen to if I'm really, really stressed, right? It's either Weightless by Marconi Union. Weightless by Marconi Union, which is scientifically proven to be the world's most relaxing song, or Singing Bowls. Singing Bowls. Those are the two things that I listen to if I'm super, super stressed. Singing Bowls if I'm, like, crazy stressed. I remember once I had 5 hours left to complete a project, like a 3D modeling project, and I sat there with Singing Bowls blasting in my ears while I felt like crying for those 5 hours. One of my friends came up to me and was like, "Jess, are you okay?" And, like, bags under my eyes. I stared back at him and took the coffee from his hand that he bought for me. And I was like, "No, but thank you." And I just had, like, the Singing Bowls. I was like, "You want to hear what I'm listening to?" And he's like, "Sure." And I handed him my headphones. It was just like, he's just blasted with Singing Bowls. If you've never listened to Singing Bowls, I highly recommend it. Bowls, as in Bowls, sorry. Bowls. Singing Bowls. Very nice. Generally, I listen to Pink Floyd or Queen. I just love them. Ah, oldies. Yeah, no, I don't mind oldies. I'm very picky with them, actually. Pink Floyd or Queen are both good. Good choices, though. I don't really like specific genres. I don't really like specific bands. I like a lot of genres, though. Oh, another fail-safe song for me is Plume by Caravan Palace. A very big electronic swing fan. I just really, really like swing, I think. But yeah, electronic swing is one of my favorite things. I'm a very big electronica fan. Quite like electronic music. Like, I'll listen to most things, but I tend to really like electronic music. Electronic, I like dance. I really like my favorite genres very wildly. I really like indie acoustic. I really like folk. It's very dependent with folk, though. I really like metal. I like rock. I really like some pop. It really depends. I like rap. I like trap. I like yeah, I like a lot of music. Oh, I love synthwave. I love synth. Huge fan of synth. Air is my favorite electronica band. Never heard of them. When I say electronica, I mean I really, really love, like, rave. I love rave. I really like house. I really like hard style, stuff like that. Again, dance, electronica. I don't even know if I can name my favorite DJ. I really like Alice in Wonderland. That's Allison, as in the name, Allison space Wonderland. It's the coolest stage name. I really like Galantis. I really liked Armin van Buuren when he was in his like primer days. I really liked him. Zed I quite liked as well. They're so good, super chill. Ah, chill electronica. Very good choice. I quite like chill electronica as well. Do you like 21 Pilots? They'll release a new album in May, but they released a single called Shy Away 2 days ago. I was a very big 21 Pilots fan when I was 15, 16, I think. So it's been a while since I've listened to anything new by them. But I will give them a listen again. I did quite like them, so it's not like I stopped liking them or anything. It's just I never kept up with them after that. Because I kind of embraced my more poppy kind of side, but because like that was when I was a little more edgy. Yes, I do like 21 Pilots, and I will see that new album. I will check it out. I know some online friends of mine are really excited for it, because I did hear about the new album release. I think one of my friends pre-ordered the vinyl. Alright, looks like I won't be able to add in flowers. That's too bad. That's okay. Gardens. This should be a little more organized here. Yeah, when I was around 15, 16, my favorite bands were like Fall Out Boy, 21 Pilots, Panic at the Disco. Like older Panic at the Disco. Not new Panic at the Disco. My favorite was I had a couple. I really liked. Ugh, see, I don't like it when it does that because it's like now it's like oh weird. I listened to a lot of 21 Pilots in uni. Yeah, no, I really liked oh my god, what's that one Panic at the Disco song? There's quite a few. Oh, Death of a Bachelor is one of my failsafe songs. Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time is one of my favorites though. It's not a failsafe song, but it's definitely one of my favorites. 21 Pilots, I was boring. I really liked Heathens. I really liked Stressed Out. Stressed Out, I still listen to. Every once in a while. If I'm feeling real down, I'll listen to that one. Yeah, I just really like music. I've been listening to... What's the song I've been listening to really a lot recently? Chamber of Reflection by Mac DeMarco. I think that's one I've been listening to. I've been listening to the Howl's Moving Castle theme. I've been listening to KDA. I don't play League of Legends, but I've been listening to a lot of KDA music. Specifically, I've been listening to More. I've been listening to The Baddest, and I've been listening to Drum Go Dumb. Those three I've been listening to on repeat very frequently as of late. I find that when you listen to confident music, or when I listen to confident music, I feel more confident. So it was like KDA. If I listened to KDA for long enough, and I felt like I could do anything. It's like I'm not much of a K-pop person, but KDA is very, very good. But again, I don't play League of Legends. I just really like KDA. And for those of you who don't know what KDA actually stands for, it stands for KDA, Kill Death Average. I think that's what it stands for. Which is a competitive games term. 21, what's your favorite 21 Pilots song? Good question. It's been a really, like, I still listen to Stressed Out, like I said. I really, really loved Heathens when it came out. Even though the movie that it was attached to, Suicide Squad, was not good, but the soundtrack was really good. It's just the movie itself was not excellent. Um, man, I can't choose a favorite. I really, yeah, like I was boring. I really liked Stressed Out, and I really liked Heathens. I liked Ride. I had quite a few. I can never remember all the names though, because it's been a very long time. But yeah, I was pretty boring in terms of 21 Pilots music. Like, there are other bands that, like, I deep dove into a little bit more. The Shins was one of them. I really, really like the Shins. I quite like 40 Mark Strasse, which is one of my favorites by them. I like the Rifle Spiral. Caring is Creepy is another good one. If you like more acoustic sounds that are just a little bit sadder, that album, Caring is Creepy, is from 2001, so if you want a bit of an older sound, they got that. Oh, another band I really liked when I was younger that my brother is getting into now is oh my god, it was, wow, I can't remember it. Two Door Cinema Club, that's the one. When I was in my more hipstery phase. Yeah, Two Door Cinema Club was like my favorite thing ever when I was really, really young. Yeah, I'll listen to Truce though. I don't think I ever heard that one. Yeah, when I listen to when I want a really nostalgic feeling, I listen to synthwave. I have a lot of favorite synthwave songs. I really, really like Velvet 2600 by Voyage. I really liked Home by Resonance is the common one. Dusk, I think, is also by Home. That's another one I really like. Ort Cloud, Odyssey. Yeah, I love synthwave. Oh, Rolling Down the Street in My Katamari, that's chiptune. That's not synthwave, but it's still really, really good. That's another good nostalgic sound that I quite like. It feels like you're going down a street in an old retro video game. It's super, super good. Oh, right. With that, though, allow me to just make a new border so I know where to crop this. Oh, I should make this a little bit bigger then. Alright, though, with that, that is going to do it for this stream. Wow, we were actually on time this time. It's 6:02. But yes, everyone, thank you so, so much for joining. Well, I mean, there's like one of you in there, but, sorry for the kind of mess up that happened. I don't know what happened there, with the whole, like, two streams going on at once, but thank you so much for joining. And I'll say it once more, we are not only a YouTube channel, but we are also an art school. So I am one of the teachers. Lovely Faye, who has also been in the chat for a while, is also one of the instructors, and Alyssa, who is behind the Wing Canvas channel right now, is also one of the instructors. So if you would like to check out the classes that we have to offer, feel free to do so on the link of at our website. The links is down below, so if you'd like to check it out there, be sure to. And like I mentioned before, this file and this file both are going to be available for download on our Discord, where I will upload the JPEGs for both of them, so you'll be able to download this finished file as well as this whole page of, working stuff and the lesson and whatever. So you'll be able to download both of those for free as a JPEG. Download it, keep it, do whatever you want with it. Just don't repost it. It's all yours. But unfortunately, because I'm only uploading the JPEG, you will not get all of these extra little working bits behind it. So if you would like that and the rest of my working file, you are going to have to go and join our Patreon, which is where you can get all of my working files, and you can also get discounts on our classes, which is, again, in limited spots. So be sure to get those spots before they are gone. But yes, thank you so, so much for joining, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye!